everyone, it's Libby from maighstirtarot to acknowledge the Worimi First Nations people. It's WORIMI, and welcome to you, your guides, my guides, and the universal energy. Okay, what fresh craziness have we woken up to today? So yes, I did. My mind blooped yesterday. I remembered seeing a figure in the 80s that, and I said, oh, the US had dropped the tariffs. No, they hadn't. Felon 45 still has his tariff. Well, he had his tariff on China at 125%. So China basically said, well, playing chicken, staring the US in the face, and put on an 84% tariff, of which overnight, out of sheer pettiness, Felon 45 decided to the tariffs on China to 145%. Now, I don't know whether this is actually pettiness or not. This is really interesting what's happened. He's been caught on microphone stating that one of his good mates, Schwab, made $2.5 billion in 24 hours with this pump and dump. It's market manipulation. It's illegal trading. He's been putting the word out there, time to buy, before he removes tariffs, and then he's like, time to sell, just before he puts tariffs back on again. So, unfortunately, the GOP Congress are missing their spine, and the scrotus, as I shall call them, 5 out of the 9 scrotuses have been bought and just wiping their hands of this guy at this stage. Could all very well change overnight because, boy, you wake up in the morning and you go, he did what? He said what? It's just... Anyhow, I do want to have a look at what's going to happen in regards to this US-China playing chicken. Basically, because China is the biggest holder of the US debt. And when I'm talking about debt, it's a bit hard to explain. The US Treasury bonds. China is the biggest holder of US Treasury bonds. Now, Japan, who did hold a fair swag of them, decided a couple of days ago that they were just going to dump them on the market. Wanted nothing to do with the US. And I'm actually wondering whether China bought those at a reduced price because Japan, China, and South Korea are teaming up as they are motoring down this road and eyeballing off Felon 45 in his Cybertruck. So I do want to have a look to see whether China bought them, and I do want to see who's going to blink and what's going to happen. Are China going to dump these treasury bonds on the world market, which will basically crash the US economy? Now I'm talking economy as opposed to stock market. It'll be stock market too, but I want to have a quick look. Now, I do not give financial advice. I just read cards. I am not a financial advisor. Entertainment only. So I do want to have a look as to how that is going to play out. Now, I will not pretend to get my head around how bonds work, but from what I gather, it's kind of like when you have a mortgage when you buy a house. So what happens is there's not one mortgage holder for the US debt, but they allocate these treasury bonds with a certain value, and other countries can buy them and they hold the debt of the United States. So it's a bit like me owning a house and guaranteeing to a range of banks that I will pay back my mortgage. It's like a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth mortgage type thing. I will pay back my mortgages with interest. So if the banks suddenly decide to call in those loans, which is what dumping the treasury bonds on the market would potentially do, I could lose the house. So it's hard to explain, can't quite get my head around how they work because I'm not that way wired, but this is pretty precarious position to be in. I mean, why would you be paving off the countries that hold your debt? Now, so China, Japan, and South Korea are forming an alliance. I do notice that Amazon has cancelled a lot of their um, products that they would import from China while this is all playing out. It's not like manufacturing is going to come back to the US overnight. Those products just simply won't be available. They did ask Australia whether we wanted to join, but Australia being Australia, really interesting history in comparison. We come from convict stock for our modern history. Now, to be honest, about a third of our population either were born overseas or their parents were born overseas. So we are a huge multicultural country. But our foundational platform in which this modern era of Australia was born, because you've got to remember that our First Nations uh, culture goes back about 60, 65,000 years, if not even longer. So they've been here forever. But our modern era culture was basically born on convict stock, where we had no qualms about telling somebody to bugger off and giving them the middle finger if we didn't agree. Now, we also call proposals that are put forward, we say, do they pass the pub test? Ergo, if you're down the pub having a chat with a couple of mates, does it stack up? And if it's not, we call BS on it. Whereas the US history is built on um, uh, religion escaping prosecution and evangelical nutcases back in the 1800s. That's where the US culture is the foundation that they're built on. So it's actually quite different cultures. So we said to China, we might just sit this out and sit on the sideline and see how it plays out, be a good mate to everybody. We'll just sit here. So we're not picking sides at the moment. However, if I read a quick quote from from an Australian party, the Chinese government reiterated it was prepared to fight to the end. Got to remember, China thinks in hundreds of years, not an election cycle. So the Chinese government reiterated it was prepared to fight to the end, and there seems little likelihood of the emerging superpower from backing down. The bitter dispute looks like entering a critical phase determined by which side can stand the most pain. One expert said, the most worrying fact is both sides are willing to pay tit for tat, said Isaac Goss of Monash University Business School of Melbourne. The tariffs will take a massive hit to the two biggest economies, but certainly any more rounds of escalation would all but zero out the trade between the two countries. And it would have a profound effect on the US, China, and consequently the global economy. So we're all sitting on the sidelines involved in this, which is why the whole world is taking such a keen interest in what is happening. So I'm going to use the Golden Universal Tarot, which means I don't have the overhead lights on at the moment because they do shine on those cards because they are shiny cards. I'll talk about having a bun fight. Card on the bottom of the deck as I drew it out. But I also do want to just have a read of something that's from the fourth turning is here. No dust cover on that. But I'm up to page 70, 71, and it's talking about the actual seasons themselves, the cycle themselves. And it does talk about, and I'm going to read verbatim here from this page here. And it basically says the first dynasty, ergo the first era, is born in a crisis moment of invasion or rebellion, and it grows its strengths from that. So grows its strengths, and then it reached the zeniths of its power and generosity, which is the midpoint, which would be about the 1980s for the US, and then it moves 80s, 90s, and then it moves into its declining stage. And the declining state, the early stages, okay, so we're talking about the early stages. So this is post World War II, post War of Independence, post-Civil War, and we're now talking about 2025 onward, after this happens. The early stages of strong social cohesion are marked by um, common folk manners, simple laws that are obeyed, and a thirst for reputation and modest affluence that is equally shared. So this was sort of the late 1940s, early 1950s. The late stage, which is what we're in at the moment, is marked by refined manners, so Ponzi attitudes, the ergo looking down the nose, complex laws that are evaded, and a thirst for money and great riches hoarded by the few. So that's where we are at the moment. We're in this fourth turning cycle. So, been there before, come out the other end. If you're curious further, have a look at the video I did a couple of days ago I put 18, I think it was 1780s, 1860s, etc., and so forth. So, using the Golden Universal Tarot, 12 minutes of yapping. Sorry about that. Let's have a look. This is me procrastinating about cleaning the house. Okay, I want to have a look at, oh boy, oh boy. Oh, will China dump the treasury bonds? Straight to the big question. Will China, entertainment only? I am not giving financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. But I do want to ask, will China tank or somewhat tank the US economy by dumping treasury bonds? Now, there was a comment I saw last night. I can't remember where I saw it. Basically said there could be 1,000% tariff on China and they still wouldn't blink. They don't play like that. China does not play like that. Okay, so they would just knuckle down and push through. Okay, will China dump US Treasury bonds? I know I could use pendulum for this, but I'm going to use the cards to see if I get a bit more of a story. Will China dump the US Treasury bonds? Okay, I'll just with my little mouse mat so I get the nice light, nice and bright for you on the cards. Yeah, my computer demands a focus point be selected. Okay, on the base before I even start. This path of lunacy. You've got the two sides pitted against each other, the domestic dog, the wild dog, and passing along this path. The pillars of wisdom are here to the side, so hopefully wisdom will prevail. But you've got this soul journey, this lobster crawling out and setting on this path that is an up and down path. And it is a path of lunacy. I'm just going to say with the moon there, it's also going to reveal secrets that some might prefer be kept hidden. Felon 45 looking at you. Okay, let's have a look. Right. Are China going to, I hope you can see those cards, they're not too bright. Are China going to dump US Treasury bonds? Well, the signifier, the here and now where they are at the moment, the messaging is standing fast. Yes, battered, bruised, but standing fast with their messaging, not backing down. They've got the plans. So for me, wands are about planning, passion is another big one, communication, ergo messaging, and careers. Well, China has this backdrop of its planning that it will stand fast again. So in other words, its guardrails will stand battered, bruised, but it's not going to back down from its messaging. Challenged by perhaps a declaration of some sort that will awaken the masses or awaken the sleeping giant. So that's the challenge, and I suspect Felon 45 is not going to stop at 145%. He is rabbiting on about how China's going to come to him and negotiate, etc., how China's willing to negotiate. It's the same with the Ukraine was going to sign the minerals deal about 5 times in the last 2 months, and there's no minerals deal being signed yet. It's the health plan that was supposed to come out 5 years ago. No, China is not um, begging to enter talks to negotiate about this. However, so I suspect there will be another announcement that will come out that the masses can no longer ignore, but possibly awakening the giant here. Okay, the foundation of the reading is an offer, an overture, but it's not moving fast very quickly at all. There's this look of determination on this knight's face. The horse is looking away. The horse is looking at going over the waterfall, over the cliff. So I'm suspecting that the offer is going to be made by China to the US to basically back off or we'll send you over the waterfall, is what I'm feeling there. Notice there's no money cards here, but are they going to? Righto. This is a plan underway overseas, but it is looking overseas, it's a toxic plan. So I'm feeling that this is the US tariff plan to attack other countries, but they're going to be caught up on the battlements looking out with this toxicity. They're going to find, okay. Crowning the reading. The plan coming to fruition. The ship's coming in, looking for, okay, yeah, they've put their plan into play. They're playing chicken with tariffs, and now they're looking to see their ships coming in. But in this particular deck, there are no ships coming in. So yeah, they looked at their options. They played their hand, the US, but there are no ships coming in. Okay, what we've got here is a false victory, an uncomfortable victory. So yes, Felon 45 will be spouting about all this winning that he's doing. I wonder when they get tired of the winning. But it's a false winning. You'll see nobody in the background's cheering. Nobody's celebrating. How the horse looks incredibly uncomfortable in the situation, but this figure is touting that they've had a victory. Again, there's no money here. Okay, let's see where this goes. The Emperor is finding himself exposed with no clothes externally, internally. Again, more messaging. Gosh, I haven't had a single coin yet. More messaging coming forward internally. But it's not forward movement. The horse is looking like it's being held back. This may be why did I just get that he's going to claim that China blinked or something, but it kind of just didn't. It's also very much naivety about who he's dealing with here. But it's almost like gearing up for battle, but not moving. Beware the spin. Beware the spin. A strong leader coming forward, taking action, making some sort of powerful announcement. There's the hopes and fears, the outcome, disappointment, loss. I'm not feeling this is for China. This is felon 45. Not wanting to accept this offer that's made. So how's it going to play out? Walking away from this offer that's disappointing. There is not a single money card in me asking, would China dump the US Treasury bonds? There's not a single money card out of the whole deck that has come out. We've then got strategy, a statement of strategy, walking away, a statement of strategy coming forward, a truth coming forward, a reality coming forth that will lead to isolation and potentially in some sort of investigation. You've got the two kings here as well. The King of Wands bringing forward messaging and a plan, and the King is in the hopes and fears, and the King of Swords bringing forward, drawing his sword, prepared to take to the battlefield because he's in full armor, with the truth, with a strategy. Again, not backing. China's not going to back down on this. And what's going to happen is there's going to be an isolation of the US where it has to try and find a treacherous path forward in regards to this. On the bottom, again, there was this lunacy. We talked about that at the beginning. And we've got this nightmare scenario. Again, no pentacles. A nightmare scenario. We have potentially a female leader stepping up. And then we start with the work going on behind the scenes in regards to the finances, the disappointment in the harvest, not being able to reap the money. I think I'm getting into a different story here as well. As this forward progress was, as this forward movement has been stopped. And the wealthy, those who made a mozza off it, looking at you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, are going to have to defend themselves. You've got here the decrepit old king, the moneyed king. Things are going to turn for him, and he may find himself strung up and sacrificed due to this, as big information is coming out about the real agenda. Then finding himself restricted, and then we've got this King of Cups again. All four kings have come out, so this is big leadership stuff, but I only had, four major arcana. So there's big leadership so shirt fronting going on. I'm going to say shirt fronting before one of them blinks. And I don't think it's going to be China that blinks. So let's have a look. Is Felon 44? He's going to come up with all sorts of nonsense, I suppose there's no other way to put it, where he's going to make it appear that he toughed the Chinese government out, but it's all fake. It's all false, and he's going to be exposed for it to being all false, I think. Jamie, let's have a look. Is the US going to blink first? Now, when I say the US, I'm not talking about you, and I'm not talking about the person in the street. have been saying for a long time it needs to get so painful that the people in the street actually wake up and realise what's happening. And speaking of waking up, having a chat with Cash Peters this morning, just via comments. Love Cash Peters. Talking, and I was mentioning his very uncomfortable images that he came out with over the last few months. First of all, about Felon 45 riding in on the fake wave of victory. Well, he did that, but also about the people sitting back in regards to the deportations, the illegal deportations. You and I know what's going on, but by crikey, there's a lot of people in the US that are just going about their business, not knowing, not caring, and basically ignoring, sitting on the sidelines going, oh, well, they must have been a gang member or something like that. These people are needing this splat, this aliens splat in the face to happen for them to actually wake up. And the universe keeps giving them chances. And each time it gets more and more intense. And we are at the stage now where I don't think it's going to be able to be ignored any longer. So I'm going to just do two throws. First of all, I'm going to say, will China blink first? Sorry about my long readings lately. Just feel free to just break them down over a couple of coffees, and pick and choose. Don't feel like you have to watch everything. So let's have a look. Will China blink first? Just show me. Will China blink first? What do you got there? What have you given to me? The king has been trampled underfoot with this nightmare situation. I don't think this is China bringing things to an end. I do. I think they're bringing it to an end, but I think they're just going to steamroll, however you like to put it, steamroll straight over in this nightmare situation. They have the higher ground and they're going to stand their ground, and they are prepared for battle, and they are prepared to go this far. They're absolutely prepared to go this far. And then we have something coming out of left field, something new, something unusual, something unexpected coming out of left field, an unusual announcement, something along those lines. So I'll just pop those back and again ask just a couple of cards. So I don't think China's going to blink. I think they're just going to steamroll, and they are prepared to take this to the collapse. The collapse. I'm just going to say they're prepared to take this to the collapse. I don't quite know how you put that. Whose collapse? Okay. Is China going to be, is China prepared to take this to the end? Let's have a look. Is China prepared? Got to remember, this is a communist government. It's not a government by election. They don't have to hand it to anybody, or there's no we the people in their constitution. Let's have a look. Although it is very liberal nowadays. Let's have a look. Is China prepared to take this to the end? Right, okay. Three of Pentacles. Working in cahoots with others to build a solid foundation. Protecting their own wealth in what is a nightmarish situation, absolutely, as the swords are there poised to fall. Finding themselves potentially out in the cold, or are they the ones holding the money, tossing others out in the cold? Okay, thank you. I just got the disregard for those that will suffer from this, an offer that they're not prepared to accept, and the path up and down, the lunacy path. Well, they're not great cards for China at all. Working with others to protect, but it is going to be a nightmare situation for China. There is this, in this protection, in this challenge of protection, they have this, there is this disregard, and they're not going to accept any offers, because it is a lunacy fight going forward. It's going to be a very revealing lunacy fight. Okay, so I don't think China, I think China's just going to, I won't say it will close the borders, but it will protect itself. So is the US going to be the one that backs down in this? Show me, is the US the one that backs down in regards to this playing chicken with the tariffs? Is the US going to be? Is the US going to? How's it going to go for the US? Right, charging in like a crazy man, rash, knee-jerk reaction, aggressive charging in, bruised and battered with the back up against the wall, a lot of negative headlines. We've got this lunacy card again, different spot, something unexpected coming out of left field. Announcements coming out from the White House about potentially trade agreements. But we've got the alchemy card there as well. Trying to find a balance, but the infighting, the squabbling, the infighting. But then we have some sort of agreement made. Okay, and the Wheel of Fortune turning on the bottom. Okay, charging in with lunacy. Let's nut this out. Sorry, it's going to be a long reading. Really wasn't planning on it, but let's have a look. It's kind of going to, well, I was going to say, is China going to threaten to tank the US economy? The Star, the new journey, and the new money, the legacy and the money. We've got retreat on the bottom. And we've got the wheel turning. The wheel turning, the money being juggled, out in the cold, and downfall. I'm really getting here that China holds all the cards in regards to this, may choose. It can choose to take the US off the cliff because it holds the money cards. Two tens in the beginning, because China holds the money cards. It's not yet decided, but it is prepared to take the US down. We've got here on the bottom, we've got the retreat and contemplation. We've got here a collective awakening and a call to arms. A big announcement coming and being backed into the corner. They haven't decided whether they're going to or not yet, is what I'm getting. They have the ability to do so, but China's not stupid. The governing party or whoever, these experts from China, they're not stupid. They know if they take the US out, that it will implode the global markets. So all their other trading partners, are they prepared to? Let's have a look. Are China prepared to take the US economy out if if the US doesn't back off? Oh, too many colours. Okay, we want that one. When there's a jumper. Yeah, they are. They're prepared to defend themselves against the tariffs, against the messaging. Yep, they're prepared to. The challenge is the nurturing of the global financial economy. The challenge is protecting. We've got here actions having consequences. They're fully aware their actions will have consequences. In the past, we've got the skilled work going on behind the scenes in regards to this. I'm also thinking that this is the Chinese workers as well in the past. But you'll notice here the drawbridge is drawn up. And these coins are stacking away. So in the past, I mean, they've done it before during COVID, is they've drawn the drawbridge up and continued the work, which is one reason why China at the moment is in the process of demolishing apartment blocks and stuff, because they continued the work and they're prepared to simply stack up, warehouse the results. Okay. Crowning this reading is the decrepit moneyed king, immediate future, the path of lunacy that they'll be going down. Are China prepared to do so? I am drawn to the dog here looking in the swamp water going, are you serious? Are you really going to take us down this path? There might be some calmer heads that prevail with this King of Cups. But you've got the ships in the background as well. There might be, this is my card for diplomats and negotiators, externally. Internally, however, forward movement is halted. And this figure here is armoured up and ready. The hopes and fears, some sort of false victory, the outcome, a lot of negative headlines. The tilting at windmills, the naivety of this strategy. And then we've got the Queen of Cups, keeping a lid on the emotions in what is a nightmare situation, but then the ability to manifest and keep the people happy. As the emperor or wannabe emperor, finds himself in this despairing situation. Oh, restriction by the strategy. They have options. And then we've got the smug merchant with the cups all lined up. I am just going to say, yes, they are prepared to do so. Again, what have we got? We have, out of all those cards, we had one money card, and it was in the past. And this was very much about pulling up the drawbridge, putting down the populace. Hope I pronounced that right because I always get it wrong. And continuing the work, but just warehousing it. Out of all those cards, there was only one that was a money card. Oh, sorry, and two money cards with the decrepit emperor, the decrepit king there trying to control things. Yeah, China's prepared to. China, I think, are prepared to. I don't know that they would tank the US because they know that would really affect the global market, but they're prepared to play the long game in this. They're prepared to pull up the drawbridge against the United States and say, talk to the hand, and let the United States land where it may. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. We could ask questions about this for hours and probably still get the same answer because that's twice now I've got that particular answer. I don't think they're going to tank the US economy by selling off the mortgage bonds. They might remind the US government that they have the mortgage bonds and perhaps use it as a, you better watch what you're doing. But they are fully prepared to cut ties. And who's got the most to lose? Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Catch you later.